Hello Aquarius friends, I'm Annie Botticelli and welcome to my Aquarius January 2022 Astrology Must-Knows Horoscope Forecast. Definitely go to anniehelpsyou.com. That is the interface where you can see all the free goodies I make for you each month, so you can take advantage of those, including the new perk when you sign up for my free email newsletter to be able to run a free birth chart. So that's very exciting. The next thing is that if you would like to see my free courses, you can go to my school, Luminous Life Multiversity, at lumelife.com, L-U-M-E life.com. This is for you if Aquarius is your sun or your moon or your rising, but also if you're watching for your Mercury in Aquarius or your Venus or Mars. What we're going to talk about here is going to be a piece of your astrological picture. The next thing is that if you are a more later degree Aquarius, so we'll say birthdays from around February 15th through the rest of the sign, or from around 23 degrees through the rest of the sign. I also recommend that you watch my Pisces report, because you later late degree cuspy people have a more complex read, and you will benefit from getting both of those reports. Okay, so what are our must-knows for this new month, for this new year? The first big must-know is that it is a relief that we're getting out of the eclipse season. Now, it is possible that some eclipse news or afterquakes from the November and December eclipses could still come in at this time, but that general stress, anxiety, foreboding, feeling like your finger is stuck in a light socket thing that goes on in the heat of eclipse season, that will be starting to ease. So that is very exciting, must know. The next big must know is that we did just recently have that Saturn-Uranus square. So we are going to be having some after effects from that. However, again, like the bulk of the heat of the energy happened. So now it's starting to dissipate. And now we're entering a time between now and around August where we're going to be more free from that aspect before it comes back in for its final push towards the end of the year. So that's a relief. The next big must know, and this is also a relief, is that we have more sweet aspects than salty ones this month. There are many, many, many different layers of how we experience astrology. And when we're talking about general horoscopes, we're talking about the layers of general astrology, and I try to drill it down as much into the specifics of your chart as possible, which is why I urge you to, look at your birth chart and try to use the degrees that I talk about and such. But we can't get around the fact that everything in astrology is layers, because everything in life is layers. So one of the layers of what I look at for each month to see what the energies are going to be is the sweet to salty aspect ratio. A sweet aspect is one that is harmonious. A salty one is one that is a little bit more challenging. So we've got a good bit more sweet aspects compared to salty ones this month. So we have that to look forward to. If you want to see what all the sweet aspects are, the salty ones, the dates, you get that as a perk when you sign up for my free email newsletter. I send that out in the review of the month for each month that I send out a month early. Okay, so you can check that out at anniehelpsyou.com. All right, so another major must know is that we are entering Mercury retrograde again. I know there's been a lot of talk about retrogrades because we're still in Venus retrograde, which we will go back to and talk about some more. And Venus will go direct this month, but we do have the Mercury retrograde transit. So we're going to break up Mercury retrograde into a couple of must-knows for everybody about the general transit. Then we're going to talk about Mercury retrograde in the sign of Aquarius and back into Capricorn. And then we're going to talk about where in the chart this is for you and some specific types of Aquarius things. Now, it turns out that this Mercury retrograde is more relevant for Aquarius people because Aquarius is your sign, so you're going to have a lot of rumping and bumping around of Mercury, some of you more than others, which we'll also talk about here in a second. So let's go in order. First big major must know about Mercury retrograde is that the things that you plan for this time, and when I say this time, I mean from the last few days of December through February 23rd, being the whole Mercury retrograde cycle, and the actual retrograde is from January 14th through February 3rd, but all of the things that go on with Mercury retrograde go on during the shadow periods before and after. So basically from the end of December through February 23rd, the odds are increased of plan changes. Things that you plan during this time are very likely to change. They might wind up happening, but they very often will get called into question and they'll feel dicey and on sliding sand. Okay, So best advice I can give you here, try to avoid making plans if you can that are not things that are flexible. Some things are just out of your control. And if they're out of your control, then you don't have to worry about it. You can just kind of observe and know maybe that's going to change. There could be a shift to that. Just have that in your awareness. If you're the one planning it and it's something that's flexible, like it's a play date with a family, another family, and you say, all right, let's pencil it in for that day, but just know that there could be changes. And the more you kind of alert people saying you can only half-heartedly commit to something at that time, the better off you will be when it comes to that you might not be able to do it, and then you've given yourself a segue for it changing. Okay, so big must know, plans are probably going to change. If you can avoid scheduling things that are not flexible at this time, that would be better. The next big must know is that the more you leave yourself unscheduled during retrograde, okay, I talked about this last in September and October. I talked about this last minute magic, and I got lots of reports from people about the last minute magic that they had, and I saw quite a few things come through on my own too, which is that if you don't schedule a bunch, then if an opportunity comes, you don't have to say, oh, I can't make that because I have all this stuff I have to do, right? So if you leave yourself unscheduled, then one of the positive aspects of the Mercury retrograde is the fact that this last minute magic tends to come in, and you will be ready to accept what comes in. Last minute trips, last minute, opportunities for events, impromptu gatherings are really well supported at this time. If you're like, oh, hey, I think I'm going to do this thing, those tend to go better than trying to plan something solidly. Short-term plans and agreements and commitments are favored during this time, okay? So that's a thing to know. If it's something long-term, something not flexible, you want to be really careful with those and try to put them off until the energies are more clear if possible. And if you can't, read the fine print and try to work in as much flexibility as you can. All right. Big must know for Mercury retrograde is trying things on without permanent commitment is best for now. So let's say you want to take a course, and the course is something that you go at your own pace. That's good, because that's flexible and that honors what we're saying here. So just kind of look for flexibility, away from a permanent commitment. And, and that being said, this is an amazing time for studying and education. So taking courses and doing courses of study are actually very, very well supported. And the odds are that you can meet some interesting people and have important contacts, which comes from the fact that the Mercury is in Aquarius. Okay, so let's talk about that aspect of it. Aquarius rules social scenes. It rules groups and teams and humanitarian efforts and friendships, social circles, social media, internet-based projects. So you're going to especially see things from the past coming up with those topics. Friends from the past. Topics that you had an issue with an acquaintance from the past, an opportunity. Maybe you met someone and now they come back in. So pay attention if somebody comes out of the blue, because they could have an important message for you, or it could just be a fun experience to connect with them, or they could introduce you to something or someone else that could be very important for you. So social connections are especially important at this time. All right, so those of you who are basically the January born Aquarius placements, or from 1 through 10 degrees, you all are going to be even more affected by this retrograde, because you are the degrees that it's going to be retrograde over. So Mercury will cross over your placement, it will retrograde back over it, and then will cross over it again. All right, this is part of why I want you to be able to run a free birth chart, which is now why I am licensing software for my email community to be able to do that for free, so that you can get to know your chart better, so that when I drill down into these degrees in the free resources that I give you, then you can make more of this, because some people have more than one Mercury or more than one Aquarius placement. Like when I first saw my chart, I didn't really know what I was looking at. Truth be known, it was a very long time ago, but I was like, wow, what's all that over there? What all that over there was like 8 different Sagittarius placements, plus a bunch of placements in the Sagittarius house. So if I would have been watching horoscope reports for Sag, and I had no idea how true that was going to be for me, because it was times 8. So you might have multiple Aquarius placements, and you can know that by running your birth chart. But in any case, so those of you in the January born or 1 to 10 degrees are going to have even more notable occurrences from this retrograde. Now that can be things from the past that have to be cleaned up, unfinished business, or it can be wonderful things from the past. That is another thing that goes on at this time is, and this is for every placement, the cleaning up of unfinished business. This is a time to go back over things. It's a great time to do things like taxes, which is, the Capricorn energies are good for that anyway. But cleaning up piles on your desk, going back to unfinished projects, cleaning up unfinished business in your relationships with people. And if you're not proactively doing things like that, the universe will very often put it in your face to deal with through an issue or an incident with someone else that brings up something like that same old thing again. But you don't have to dread it, and I encourage you to not dread it. I encourage you to welcome it, because anything that gets brought up in a retrograde is being brought up so that you can heal it, because even when it's not front and center, it is affecting you, and it is affecting your relationships, and it is affecting your life and your vitality to have it not worked out. So when it comes up front and center, as much of a nuisance as that might be, if you look at it like, okay, this is coming up because it's a drag on your energy field. And that's always how I always like to think of these things, because obviously I spend a lot of time with my reports looking to see the things that are coming, to understand the energies better, to explain them to y'all. So when I see something coming that's like, oh God, that can be kind of annoying, I have a ton of Sag energy, like I told you, and I'm an optimist. So I reframe it like, wow, okay, good. What's good about that? And that's what I try to share with you. How you can make the most of that and be positive about it, even if it brings some challenges. So look forward to resolving some things that have been a drag on your energy field for a while. Okay, so the retrograde is also going to bring, and this is Mercury retrograde and Venus retrograde, is going to bring a lot of focus on business, work, employment, father figures, and your place out in the world. So be looking for opportunities to experiment, try things on, and, kind of dip into what something might feel like to do something, or start preparing for a future doing something else. And this leads back to this education stuff. Many of you are training or will be training for jobs in different fields. And many of you will be planning to do more than one thing. I see this as a trend that's going to continue. In the past, like I know my parents, and they tried to instill in me to say, get a good job, work for the company for, till you retire, and then you have your retirement, and then you're set, right? And so turns out I'm not wired in a way that I can do that. So that's why I became an entrepreneur in my 20s, after I had my first very long corporate job, where I was like, wow, this whole thing that people do, I can't be happy that way. So I've been forging my own way. And one of the things that you all might be finding as you're seeing the trend in the world is that there are going to be many people who aren't going to find their success through going to one job and staying at that same job for 30 years. There will be people that are doing that, and that's fine. But more and more, getting your fingers in different pudding pies is going to come up, okay? And this is especially relevant for you at this time, because you might have a job you might not be completely satisfied with, but it's your income. But you might be training to do one or more things, where you do a little bit of that, a little bit of this, and it piecemeals together into the income that you need and the lifestyle that you want to create. And those are the types of questions that Aquarius is going to be asking, because Saturn is still continuing to move through your sign for a long time. We had this time where Jupiter and Saturn were there, and now Jupiter is in Pisces, but you still have Saturn. So Saturn is that taskmaster. Saturn is that energy of going to one place forever, every day, and doing the same thing in the old traditional way. And so it's moving through the sign of Aquarius, which is not that way. The Aquarius people, right, y'all are independent thinkers. And you have ideas that are innovative and forward thinking. And there are ways to blend tradition and innovation and futuristic thinking and the past. So finding those things is going to be the Aquarian mission right now. And you might find that be very, very personal for your particular situation. So that's going to be coming up for a lot of different reasons for you now. Okay, so Venus is in retrograde from December 19th through January 29th. This is a major must-know because Venus rules love, relationships, beauty, money, finances, design, beauty, self-esteem, your appearance. And that covers a lot of ground, right? So from November 18th through March 2nd is actually the full Venus retrograde transit because there's a pre-retrograde shadow period and there's a post-retrograde shadow period. And I've come to see that the ruckuses, for better or worse, the good ruckuses and the bad ruckuses that come up from the Venus retrograde, or we'll say opportunities, are just as enhanced during those shadow periods as they are during the actual retrograde. So don't lull yourself into thinking, oh, Venus is retrograde on this certain day. Well, it was in the shadow period for 6 weeks before that. So this is a very long transit, okay? So it's important to know that. It's a big must-know. I'm going to go into some highlights for Venus retrograde, but it is very important for you to watch the Venus retrograde video that I have on YouTube that's separate because this is such a complex aspect or transit that affects so many aspects of life that I can't speak to all of those details in this video. Otherwise, it would take up the whole January horoscope and we have so much more to discuss. So I definitely refer you to that video to see some more of the caveats, to understand these energies better. But one of the biggest must-knows about Venus retrograde is that you have Venus goggles on and you might not be seeing clearly when it comes to money and finances and love and relationships and design and things about yourself and your beauty and your appearance. So if you just kind of walk through this time as if you know that the things that you think that you're having that are epiphanies might be reversed or might be just something you're trying on and what the real truth for you is not clear yet, you might do things differently. And that's what I'm offering you the opportunity to see with this, okay? So the rule that I've come to see with Venus retrograde is that you are going to want to experiment, to turn over, to question, to look into anything having to do with how you've been doing love, money, relationships, design, etc. You're going to want to do it. It's going to be an overwhelming desire to think about it and look into it and do something with it. And if you're not finding that you're wanting to do it, it's going to come to you anyway. Okay? So if you do things that are shorter term or easier to fix or low stakes, that's how you want to do it because this energy rules experimentation. But if you experiment with something that's not easily fixed, then when the Venus goggles come off and you see more clearly, if you can't fix it, then you might be in a pickle, okay? So just an example of this, you're going to probably want to spruce things up in your appearance. You might, put some attention towards anti-aging or, something with how you look. And if you do things that are low stakes, like not surgeries, not something that can get botched up and go wrong, but something like trying new skin cream that, can't hurt. It's not super strong or whatever. Trying on a certain type of, dressing, but not buying a whole new wardrobe that you can't afford. Things like that, getting a henna tattoo instead of the real one to see if you want to have it or test a design or test a location, like those kind of experimentation things. Let's say you're thinking about, wow, you're really ready to leave your partner. Now, of course, if you're in danger or if there's something, you have to just do it, right? So I would never discourage somebody from leaving something that's very bad, for sure. But there's a lot of people in the gray zone of I'm not in danger, but I'm not sure about this. Leaving during the Venus retrograde will lend itself to not having a complete goodbye, usually, and it hanging over your head. So it's not always the best time to leave or make a big decision that's not changeable, but it is a time to say, maybe I need to take a little bit of space, but stay in the commitment. maybe do some inner work to try to work on the patterns that keep coming up in all of your relationships. Things like that, where you're working with the energies in a safe space, but not making your decision about them until after. Now, if somebody is filing for divorce to you and you don't have any say in it, you don't have any say in it. But if you're the one that's going to do the instigation, you want to just be careful with that. The same thing with initiating anything having to do with, with money, you know. Should you sell everything you have and put it into a certain stock at this time? Probably not, because is that easily fixable? Yeah, probably not, right? Now, if you have an intuition, you have to follow it. Some people will have things work out for them. But for the most part, it's a time to keep all of your pots over the heat and maybe put a few more on, all right? So those are some big must-knows about Venus retrograde, and you can see the video to see more about that. Another big must-know for this month is that we've got, by the way, with those retrogrades, I told you that that energy is sort of going, I didn't say this, but I'm going to say it now, inward and backward. So that means, like, if you're trying to launch something or make a big decision or do something long-term and you try to throw that out into the world, the tide's going to bring it back to you, because the retrograde, the tides are coming in. But if you're waiting for the time when the tides are going out, the tides will be going out from around February 23rd through around April 27th. Okay, so your next big open window, and boy, will that be a big open window, because we're going to start having the energies in Aries. It'll be the astrological new year, which will feel a lot more like a new year than this does. You will feel some new year like things here because of the ending of the Sagittarius eclipse cycle. A lot of things have been coming to conclusion at the end of 2021, and you will feel newness going into 22 with that. But because we've got the webs of the retrogrades in the new year of the new month, the really big new year energy is going to blitz like in February, March, and April. So if you have to do your big things, your big decisions, your launches, your moves, your engagements, your weddings, your big parties, your travel, your anything that needs a big plan that has to be stuck to, and that's a long-term decision, your book launches, your new school launches, all of that stuff is good between February 23rd and April 27th, okay? So you can store up your energy and dot all your I's and cross all your T's in the retrograde time and be ready to burst forward once you get into that window. Okay, so we've got strong Aquarius energy. We talked about that some from the perspective of Mercury, but let's talk about the factor of the birthdays. So those of you who are early degree Aquarius friends, you're going to have your birthdays this month. Happy birthday. Birthdays are wonderful times when the universe is more receptive to your desires. That's where birthday wishes come from. The sun in the sky and the sun in the chart represents what we want, our desires, our creative forces. So when the sun in the sky gets back to the point that it was at in your chart, it creates a portal for wishing. That's what birthday wishes are about. So if you just search for Annie Botticelli making wishes come true, you can see my video to help you make the most of your birthday wishes. And if you are an Aquarius placement that's not the sun, you still have this nice little, kiss of a rebirth time and just a time to get clear with your intentions. And so you do have some good energy around that as well. Another must know about birthday time is that the birthday time, or the crossing over of the sun over whatever Aquarius placement you have, is like the rebirth time, the new cycle. But the time before that is the time to evaluate the old things. And sometimes that also comes with seeing some things that you don't want. So sometimes some fears, some anxieties, some old patterns will come up before the birthday. And we think it's because, it's my birthday, I'm going to turn this and all this happening. But usually it really just has to do with the fact that the 12th house of the chart is being flooded before the rebirth, which is the crossover over the ascendant. And the 12th house of the chart has to do with slaying your inner dragons and your fears and your doubts and, conquering those things. And also seeing the things that you don't want so that you can use your birthday wishing or your intention setting to work in the things that you do want. All right, so that's very exciting. All right, so the last major must-know that I want to mention here is that Jupiter is recently in Pisces. We're not going to talk a ton about this because I did a pretty thorough job in the December report, so you can go back and listen to that more. But I will tell you that Jupiter moving into Pisces is going to highlight your sector of finances and money, and that the chances for you making more money over this time, especially from the end of December into the spring or fall for you all down under, is greatly enhanced. And if the money doesn't start rolling in that time, the seeds could be planted for you to make more money in the future. So be thinking about that, because it is very, very, very exciting. A lot of people, when I've done evaluations of charts of people that have a bunch of money, that we know, like famous people that are rich, a lot of them have Jupiter in the second house. Natally, they have that all the time. But here, when you have it in transit, it can definitely improve your financial situation. And one note about that is that it can bring you more money, but it can also give you more expenses, or give you the inclination to spend the money that you have coming in, so that when, so that you could wind up back in the same situation you were before. So if you increase your spending with your the money making, then you might not be improving your circumstances as much. So just kind of think about that as far as savings and getting debt paid off, because that definitely could happen at this time too. A couple of other must-knows for this month is that we do have a lot of energy in Capricorn. And Capricorn energy is like a sobering reality check type of energy. So it's also a time to like draw in some of the crazy Sagittarius spending and things that went on prior, because we had a very long Sagittarian spree at the latter part of 2021. So kind of like taking stock, reining things in, getting things on track, bringing your discipline back, things like that. But it is important to note that we do still have Mars in Sagittarius. So, there is a very long period of time where that energy of excess and enthusiasm and fun and things getting out of hand can be happening. But this can be very positive for you all, because it's in a nice angle, the Sagittarius energies. So those of you who are in the first, we'll say up until around February 3rd or 4th, you'll get your kiss from Mars in December. And those of you who are after February 4th, or 14 degrees to the rest of the sign, then you will get your Mars kiss in January. All right, so Mars kisses can definitely make actions go further, can give you support that you need, can help things to feel like they're flowing better. So hopefully you'll get a notable Mars kiss from that. Okay, so I've given you lots of information to help you make the most of this new month and this new year. If you would like even more information, I have a lot more resources for you. Go to anniehelpsyou.com, or you can click on the link below this video. If you click on the little more button with the arrow, the notes will be revealed and the direct link is there. And if you would love to be an astrologer as your profession, or just earn a little bit of money on the side from your love of astrology, or just help yourself and your friends and your family without charging, you will love my Becoming a Professional Astrologer Mastery course. As you can see from all of the things that I do, I'm a teacher. I love to teach astrology. And if you think I put a lot into my free resources, you should see what goes into this crazy comprehensive course, Becoming a Professional Astrologer, which you can see at lumelife.com, L-U-M-E life.com. This link is also in the notes underneath the video. I also have a book. I have multiple books, but the book that is most about astrology is called Planetology, and you can see that at any major booksellers, and it's actually on the shelf at all major booksellers. I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye!